what year did you graduate?
49.
And
1849.
how many
Yeah,
people were in your graduating class?
I think about 26, I believe, in graduating class.
That's close to ours. We have 29.
Okay. We actually had some that graduated with us that did not attend class. They were making up classes that they did not finish earlier. And so they came and took some special classes and graduated with our class. So that's why you've got that number.
Okay. Yeah, my grandpa is Bill Tucker. So
Yeah.
yeah, he was excited to hear that I was going to interview you.
Well, I talked to him just the other day. Checked to see if he's behaving himself.
I don't know. I wouldn't call it that.
Well, Sue will keep him in line.
Yeah, I'm trying, but.
No, Sue, I said his wife will keep him in line.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
she's doing all she can.
Okay.
Okay, what were all of your activities that you did in high school with like sports and clubs?
Well, I was, I think, of the annual, I think I was editor of the high school annual my year, 49. Well, we, about 6 of us got together and formed a penguin club. And that consisted of a nightclub, for lack of a better word. We rented the Lions Club, and they had a jukebox down there. We set up card tables and made black and white tablecloths. That's why we called it Penguin, black and white.
He's saying, excuse me, he's saying penguin.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, and then we served drinks. Of course, it was all soft drinks, Coke and so forth. We put menus on the table for what kind of drinks there were and so forth. Different things like a Tom Collins was orange juice or something like that. Anyway, that was a lot of fun. We did that, 6 of us. I love to dance, and so I never missed a dance if I could help it. High school, basketball, track, football.
Your junior,
And,
senior year. Oh.
Anyway, what else can we add to that?
Do you remember what positions you played in all your sports?
Pardon me?
Do you remember all the positions you played in all your sports and basketball and football and all that?
Well, usually a guard in basketball, and I played tailback, running back in football. And track, I ran everything from the 100 through the 400, 440 yards, then they called it. Now we run in meters, but it was 100 yards and 440 yards at that time, which included the 220, obviously.
What was your favorite thing to do in Elkhart on the weekend when you were in high school?
Okay, Saturday I worked in the Ford garage, and Sunday, well, I like to go hunting with my father and fishing with my mother and father. But one thing that may be a little unusual is we hunted arrowheads. That was during the Dust Bowls when the wind just blew the topsoil off of the ground, and the arrowheads just be laying on the ground wide open. So we picked up a lot of arrowheads. We had coffee cans full of arrowheads. That was a lot of fun.
What made you proud to be a Wildcat while you were in high school?
Well, the main thing was the town people and the school people always supported you in whatever you wanted to do. When I came back, of course, that was even reinforced by I was always welcomed back by the school for different activities. And the town itself was always good to me. And all the businesses knew your name and so forth. In school, everybody supported you in class. And we just didn't have what I'd call a lot of cliques. Everything was just one big happy. So it was good. Elkhart High School was good.
That's good. What makes you proud to be an alumni of Elkhart High School?
Well, as I said, I'll tie that in with the town itself because it always supported the high school. It always supported the school system. Whenever there were athletic events, all the town people showed up. And so Elkhart High School was good because the teachers all supported us. We had great teachers, and the city supported us. And it was just a great experience, shall we say, to be a part of the Elkhart High School.
Do you think you would have done anything differently while in high school?
Now that one I'll have to think about. No, I can't think of anything I've done different. Well, there's one thing I would have done differently. I would like to have had a speech class. And one of the things I was going to add later was the fact that the one thing that will do you more good in life than about any other class you'll ever take in high school or college is speech. So if you have the opportunity to take what we call oral communications, speech will do you good no matter where you are in life. You'll have many opportunities in your lifetime to get up in front and speak. And so if you have that academic background with speech in high school and or college, that will really serve you well. So be sure you take speech classes wherever you have the opportunity.
And besides,
They didn't have speech in Elkhart at the time I was
yeah,
there.
we take it through online program now. So it's offered
Oh.
here, which is good. And
Good.
then
Good.
what's other words of advice that you have besides taking a speech class for high school students?
Well, I must confess, I probably didn't study as hard as I should have. I made A's and B's, but you just have the opportunity to go to school, shall we say, high school and or college one time in your life. So take advantage of it and take advantage of the opportunities. Yes, we like to have a good time and so forth, but you just the time you spend studying in school will be some of the most valuable time in your life. I did want to add one thing. I had perfect attendance in 11 of the 12 years that I went to school in Elkhart. But
Wow.
during my freshman year in high school, I got a piece of steel in my knee, so I missed 2 weeks. Other than that, I had perfect attendance for 11 of the 12 years.
Wow.
I didn't want to miss anything. I wanted to be there.
Yeah. Okay, what college did you go to? Why did you choose it?
Thought you'd never ask. Kansas State University. I would like to say that when you pick a college, or when anyone picks a college, there's two things to think about. Number one, pick the college that has a strong program in which you want to study. And number two, pick a college where you think you will fit in. I went to Kansas State because Kansas State, a lot of small school graduates go to Kansas State. There are other obviously good colleges, Kansas University down the river. We used to tease about them, but they're more in the, I stand corrected on this, but they used to be very, very strong in music and cultural things and that type of thing, and basketball, but that doesn't count. Anyway, pick a college where you think you will fit in. Some colleges, they have a lot of city folks go there, the Kansas City people, so forth. But Kansas State is a college that a lot of small town people go to, and it's just a real friendly college. And interestingly enough, Eldon Moore and I got in the car the 1st of August and drove up to Kansas State and said, we'd like to enroll in for September. And they said, did you graduate from a Kansas high school? We said, yes. Okay, you're in. Sign here. That's all the requirement was.
Wow.
As long as you could graduate from a Kansas high school, you're in.
I wish it was still like that.
Yeah.
At that time, I guess the one thing about it was there were a lot of World War II veterans coming back and going to college. That was about the last 4 or 5 years of their college. And so there were a lot of veterans on the campus, but within a couple of years, most of them were gone. But that was nothing more than they added a different presence to the college of mature individuals, as opposed to us high school seniors walking on the campus, which was kind of good in a way.
Yeah.
Give a lot of maturity to it.
Mm-hmm. So were there any influential people from Elkhart that helped guide you to K-State and to your career?
Well, number one and number two was my mother and father. They were very, neither one of them had the opportunity to go to college, and they insisted my sister and I go to college, and so they always reminded us of them. But a couple other things was give you an example. My father said, I don't know what you're going to do in life, but do the best you can. If it's digging a ditch, dig it straight and dig it deep. That because do whatever you do, dig it, do your best. And my mother said another thing. She said, no matter how good you think you might be, there's always somebody just around the corner, just a little bit better. So you don't forget that. And she was right, because I got second in the 100 and second to 200 meters in the Olympics. So she was right. But that applies to life too. I mean, your ego will get you down. And okay, another, Jim Heights worked in a bank, and he was also a mentor to Glenn Cunningham. I think you know that name. Graduated from Elkhart. And he was a mentor to me too. He called me up a couple of times. We talked in his house about different things, about what we wanted to do in life and that type of thing. And Clay Dean, he was a civil engineer in Elkhart. And I knew his daughter, and he was a civil engineer. So that's why I went to college, and I decided I want to be a civil engineer. So I'm going to add that when I got to college, the first semester, I did a little research on civil engineering and so forth. And I decided, I'm not too sure that civil engineering is for me. So I went to the college and talked to them about it. And they said, well, we'll give you a battery of tests. So they give me several batteries. It took 2 different Saturday mornings, about an hour or 2, as I recall, both times. And at the end of that, they said, well, we want to emphasize your strengths and your interests. And it came out to my strengths and interests was more in business than it was in engineering. So at the end of my first semester, I transferred to business, and it fit in well with my interests, my career, my studies, and that. Needless to say, sometimes you don't do some research on what you want to do in life instead of what sounds good. Figure out what your interests are and what your strengths are, and that's where you will fit in better in life, in college and in life. If that makes sense.
Yes, sir.
What was your favorite part of the Olympics? What was the whole process of getting there?
Well, my junior year in college, I went to the NCAA, which is all the college track meet at the end of the year. There's a national track meet. And the next week after that is what they call the national AAU. And there is somebody that's out of college or in college. So that's the best of everybody in the United States runs in the AAU. Well, I ran in the NCAA, I ran in the AAU, and with my finishes there, I qualified for the Olympic trials. And so the next week we had the Olympic trials, and I got second in the 200 meters. My times through the year were kind of questionable as whether I had an opportunity to make the Olympic team or not. But on the day of the Olympic trials, I got second and I made the Olympic team. Interestingly enough, I didn't plan on making the Olympic team. I didn't think I had a chance, so I didn't pack for an Olympic team. And so I just had enough clothes with me to, you might say, for the NCAA and AAU and the Olympic trials, which are all on the West Coast at that time. And so when I made the Olympic team, why I was, from there on, part of their group. And we went to New York and got our uniforms, and we were marched down Broadway with a ticker tape parade and had a couple of exhibition meets at Randall's Island. And from then on, we flew to Helsinki. And so I never got a chance to go back and pack for the Olympics, shall we say. I had one pair of shoes, running shoes, which I took to the West Coast. So that's the only pair of running shoes I had. And interestingly enough, right now, my daughter has just finished a book that's about me in the 52 Olympics. And the title of the book is Running in Borrowed Shoes. And so hopefully that'll be out from the press within a year or so. But she's just finished. Pardon me?
I just said that will be exciting to read.
Well, it is. It's factual, but it's also a lot of added. Catherine, what's the word for that?
I guess the word is faction. I interviewed a lot of Olympians, a lot of the older Olympians, and the funny part about it was I think the youngest guy I interviewed was 91, and the oldest guy I interviewed was 96. And so, I just took all the stories from these people and all the newspapers, of the time, and just did a lot of research. And so I found out everything, but it also reads like a novel. So, you know, so-and-so talks to so-and-so, but a lot of the words were directly from quotes that the people actually said. So.
And it's a great research document on the Olympics. She told me things that I had forgotten or never knew, and it was really great to work with her on that book. One thing you asked about, I'd like to add, you asked about what I remembered from the Olympic team. I was able to stand on the victory stand 4 times and hear the Star Spangled Banner. In 52, I was second in the 200 meters, and 56, second in the 100, third in the 200, and we won the 4x100 relay. But the person that won the 2 races where I didn't get first, they also were U.S. citizens. So we got to hear the Star Spangled Banner 4 times in 4 races. So I think that was quite very fortunate. For just the individual races, they had first, second, and third on the victory stand. But in the 4x100 relay, the victory stand was so small, where you stood, you know, at the top of the first, second, and third, with just room for 1 person. So the team selected me to receive the medals. So they handed me the 4 Olympic gold medals and the 4 bouquets of flowers, and they played the Star Spangled Banner. And so, needless to say, that was a highlight of my life. And then, of course, I handed the other guys their medals. It's just a crying shame that they didn't get a chance to stand on the Olympic top with since they got a gold medal too. But that's what it was. There's just room for 1 person. Nowadays, there's room for all 4. But back in those days, they didn't think about that, I guess. So anyway, I felt very fortunate to stand on the victory stand and hear the Star Spangled Banner 4 times.
Mm-hmm. So after the Olympics, what did you do and experience?
Well, in 1952, I was just a junior in college, so I had 1 more year of college. So I went back for my senior year after the 52 Olympics. And from there, I went to work for Mobil Oil, Magnolia Petroleum at that time. And for 1 year, then I was called into the Air Force through ROTC, and 1 year in the air. Got to tell you this story. I was over in Germany in the Air Force, and I got a letter from a man in Washington, D.C., a Major Johnson, and he was handwritten on 3-ring notebook paper. Said, would you like to try out for the Olympics? Your name has come to my attention as being in the Air Force and possibly a candidate for the Olympic team if you qualify. So I wrote him back and said, sure, but I've got problems. I'm due to be discharged the week before the Olympic trials, so I won't be in the Air Force when the Olympic trials are on. So I'd have to get an extension of 30 days to be in the Air Force at the Olympic trials. And then if I made the team, I'd have to get an extension until December 31st because the Olympics are in November and December in Australia. And so I'd have to be extended then till December 31st. Anyway, about 2 weeks later, here come a document down through channels that said, change Baker's release date from the Air Force from June the 15th to July the 15th. At his request, changed his discharge till December 31st and transfer him permanently back to the United States so he can train and get ready for the Olympics. My commanding officer called me in and asked me, what do you know about this? I said, well, it looks like I've got a chance to try out for the Olympics. Well, you don't want to do that. Yes, sir, I sure want to try that. All right, then get out of here. So I came back to the States and at Ohio State, I worked out with the Ohio State track team and made the Olympic team. And after I was married in 1956, and my wife and I both saved enough money with her summer job and so forth that so I could, so she could go and be at the Olympics with me in Australia. So that made it a highlight of our married life for her to attend the Olympics. And after that, I went back to Mobil Oil, where I finished my career. I also stayed in the Air Force for 30 years, several years on active duty, and all the rest of that time was a reserve time. So I retired as a bird colonel with 30 years service, most of it reserve time. But the Air Force was good to me.
Yeah, thank you for your service.
Yeah.
Okay, what else do you have?
When you come back to Elkhart, what do you notice has changed since you were in high school?
Well, needless to say, every time I came there real regular until 1991, and that's when my mother passed. But I came back several times a year to see her. And of course, every time I came back, why things there wasn't much change because I come back several times a year. But after that, I only came back for the reunions, which they had every 5 years. And every 5 years, there were a lot of changes you wouldn't have thought about because, but the companies changed, the streets changed, all the business changed. I go into the stores and I didn't know anybody. So needless to say, it was a different situation. But I want to emphasize one of the good things about Elkhart is always the people have always been friendly because it's a small town atmosphere in the businesses. And I have to compliment the museum out there. I think it's a fantastic museum for the size of the town. And that museum out there would do quality to many cities much bigger than Elkhart. So that's one thing that Elkhart has that a lot of cities don't have for its size. But every time I came back, it's changed. The streets don't change much. The houses don't change much. But the people change and the businesses change, I guess I should say.
Mm-hmm.
And what's next?
It looks like we have about 8 minutes left. So if you have any other stories you want to share.
Yes, I would. I would like to say you make your own opportunities in life. And that's, you can't sit back and wait for opportunities to come to you sometimes. You just have to make your own opportunities. And I want to give you an example of that. When I was a senior in college, recruiters they would come to the campus to interview college graduates and see if, and see if they wanted to hire them for their company. Well, all they came back to interview were engineers, but no, they didn't come back to interview business students. So during 1 week, you could sign up for that interview period. And I waited till the last minute on Friday afternoon, and I signed up my name during a 30-minute period for an interview, even though I was not an engineer. So the first thing I did, I walked into the room and I said, I want to tell you that I did not deprive any other engineer from having an opportunity to talk to you. I signed up at the last minute and took a vacant spot, but I'm here and here's my resume. And let me tell you why I think that I would be a good fit for your company. Okay, sit down and we'll see what you got to say. I did that 6 times and I got 5 offers. In other words, you have to push yourself and you have to take advantage of opportunities. You have to make those opportunities sometime. And I believe that all my life. Do what you can do to better yourself and contribute to civilization, to everything. I joined Kiwanis Club and Rotary Club and various clubs and tried to be active in the communities. I was always active in the churches with teaching, and I was a ruling elder in the Presbyterian Church and usually on the finance committee. But anyway, you have to make opportunities for yourself. You can't sit back and wait for them to come to you. I would like to say that. What else? I've covered a few things. Oh, one thing, in life, sometimes don't put out opportunities. For example, every year, Sally and I took a trip to go someplace. I've traveled to 50 some countries and I've run in about 40 of them. Reason I say that is, but when I was in college, at the end of the Olympics in '52, we traveled all over Europe in exhibition meets. And in 1953, after my senior year, we did exactly the same thing. We traveled all over Europe in exhibition meets. And, the Scandinavian countries and Vienna and Italy and various places, England. And so I got to travel a lot that way. And then Sally and I traveled every time a grandchild would get to be age 12, we'd take them on a trip that they chose where they wanted to go. And just Sally and I and the granddaughter, in this case, Catherine sitting over there, they got to pick where they wanted to go. And we took a 2-week trip traveling through those countries. And then at age 40, I started running again. They had what they call the master's program that I helped start in 1972. About 100 of us started it, and we traveled all over Europe and tried to encourage people to have track meets for seniors age 40 and over. And we attracted quite a bit of attention, I guess you say. From then on, we now have master's track meets age 40 all over the world. We run by 5-year age groups, age 40 to 44, 45, 49, 50, 54. So I ran from age 40 to age 65 in the master's program. and I ran in world meets in Puerto Rico and Cologne, Germany, and Melbourne, Australia, Canada, and Vancouver, Canada, and in the United States several times, Atlanta. So I got to run for 25 years between age 40 and 65 when I had little leg trouble, so I had to drop out. I wanted to keep running till I was still running, but at age 65, why, the wheels came off, so I had to drop off, and that's unfortunately, but that was a great opportunity to see the world through my running and through Sally and I traveling, so I've been very fortunate in that respect. I wanted to add another thing, if I could. I went to college on my own. I had enough money for about the first year. At the end of the first year, or during the first year, the coach put an article in the college paper. It said, if anybody is interested in coming out for track, why, meet in Dick Nichols' gym at 7 o'clock and we'll talk about it. So about 20 of us showed up, and he showed film, talked to us about the program, and he said, I'll interview with you individually just before you leave. So when I had my opportunity to talk to him, he asked me what I had done, and I told him I got 6th place in the 100-yard dash in the high school meet in Wichita. I got 6th place in the 220 in Wichita. I got last place in both races in the state high school meet. And he said, well, come on out. I might make a quarter miler out of you. And 3 years later, I was on the Olympic team because he was a good coach, and I took the opportunity to seek what I wanted to do. And there again, make your own opportunities. I went to, I didn't have a scholarship or anything. My first year, I said, Coach, I need a job. So he got me a job for $10 a week mopping out a laundry. And so I did that during my sophomore year, because that was freshman year I didn't have any. In freshman year, I went out for track, but freshmen were not eligible to compete in college when I was a freshman. No freshmen were. You couldn't compete till you were a sophomore. Now you can compete as freshmen, but that was then, and this is now. Anyway, my sophomore year, I said I needed a job, so he got me a job mopping out laundry for $10 a week, help yourself laundry. And that was good. I never missed a day except when I was on track meet and when I went home for vacation for Christmas and Thanksgiving. During the Easter, well, I was usually at a track meet. Anyway, then right in the middle of my sophomore year, a fraternity asked me to join the fraternity. And I said, well, I'd like to, but I tell you what, if I can work in the kitchen for my 2 meals a day, I'll join your fraternity. And they said, okay. So I worked for 2.5 years, my second half of my sophomore year and my junior and senior. I worked in the cafeteria, I worked in the fraternity for 2 meals a day. I sold programs, and I made 25 cents a program. I can make $25, $30 sometimes on a football day. I joined ROTC because I got $27.30 a month during my junior senior year. What else? I worked in the office at the athletic department for 50 cents an hour when I could. So I made my last 3 years through college on my own. It's unfortunate you can't do that nowadays because the colleges are much more expensive, but my tuition was $67.50 a semester. And I did get tuition for my sophomore, junior, and senior year, and I got $25 for books. And then that was my scholarship. People can't believe I didn't have a scholarship in college, but he didn't have any full scholarships, so he just kind of divided up what money he had, and I was fortunate enough to get tuition and book money and the jobs he got for me. So that was the way I got through college. A couple of things. I talked about working in the fraternity my sophomore year at midterms and joined the fraternity so I could work in the kitchen. The coach was kind of afraid that I wasn't eating enough food because I was losing weight, and I was on my own for eating, so I ate what was cheaper, a lot of beans. In any case, so he made sure I went to the to the health center, and they got me vitamins and so forth. So that's possibly. I mentioned I worked in the Ford garage on Saturdays. I started working there when I was 8 years old, and I got 35 cents a week. And for the sweeping out the big garage and washing the windows and so forth. It used to be the Ford garage on Main Street. Then it went to a store. Anyway, that was a pretty big place to sweep. But the interesting thing about it was men came to my boss, Mr. Hirschberg, and said, "Hey, I'd like to have that job that Baker's got for 35 cents a week." Can you believe that in 1939? I mean, that was money. And 35 cents a week, they wanted my job. What else? Okay, I'll tell you a couple of items. I was part of a study by Dr. Michael Pollack. You can look him up on the internet. I think you'll find his studies. When I was 40 years old, he took 25 of us and wanted to do a study. And would I be a part of it? And it was to determine what effect athletic activity has on your health and your aging process. His main thing was extreme physical activity made the body not age as fast. And so 25 of us he took into his study. And you couldn't be just a weekend jogger. You had to be a very active swimmer or a bicycler or a runner or something. It really was competition type workouts. So at the end of 25 years, excuse me, some of them we were going to go to age 25, but he didn't make it because he passed. But in any case, I did that test in Dallas. I did the test in Milwaukee, and I did the test in Jacksonville, Florida. Every 5 years, we would do a test. And he would do exactly the same exercises and strength testing every 5 years. And then he had a placebo group of people that just average people on the street, I guess, or whatever, weekend warriors. And our bodies did not age. We did not lose near the strength overall. And the intelligence part stayed strong compared to the placebo group. So the bottom line is you can pick up his studies on, I think you can find them on the internet, Dr. Michael Pollack. He was a PhD doctor, I believe, instead of a medical doctor. But in any case, I attribute my health to this day to the fact I've tried to stay very active physically. At least that's my belief. But you will have to look at his studies as to what he said that by doing all the testing that he did on us. Another thing is when you go to another country, you should learn the language that you can. So when I would, Finland, Sweden, Norway, Germany, I tried to learn the same thing. In Finnish, it was siinä kaunis, and in Swedish, it was mycket fin svenska flicka, and that means the same thing in all those languages. And that means you are a beautiful girl, and that'll get you by in any country.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my.
Anyway, okay. When I was in Finland in 1952, when I got through with my competition, there was a bulletin board in the Olympic Village that said, if you would like to have a student from the university come out and show you around Helsinki, well, sign up. I signed up, and a man named Ate came, and we went around Helsinki and various things and rode the bus and out to the islands and so forth. And we went by the Tivoli, or what you'd call the permanent carnival or whatever. And right in the middle of it, they had a big dance floor all with wires, with fence all around it. I said, "What's that for? To keep the dancers in or out?" Anyway, he said, "Well, every night we have a dance. And the way it works is you buy a ticket for 10 pfennigs, which is just a few pennies. And you go in there and you dance for one dance. They stop the music. You leave the arena. And then you start the music. You pay another ticket. You go back in for one dance." I said, "I'd like to do that." So he said, "Okay, I'll get you a date with my cousin." So the next night, he showed up with his cousin named Tuija Timonen. And so we danced a couple of nights. And then 7 o'clock the next morning, after the second night, they said, "Get your bag packed, Baker. You're going to be on the bus in 30 minutes. So I went on an exhibition tour. I never got to tell her goodbye and so forth. But I went back in 1953 to an exhibition meet in Helsinki. And I knew where she had worked on Saturdays in a music store. So I went there and I said, "How about lunch?" So I took her to lunch in 53. In 1972, I did that exhibition tour with men 40 and over. And I went to the same store. Of course, that was 20 years later, and nobody ever heard of her. I said, "Was anybody who'd been here 20, 25 years that might remember her?" So there's a lady in the basement. So we went down there, and she said, "Oh, yes, I remember Tuija. I know her aunt." So she made a couple of phone calls and she got Tuya on the line. And I said, how about lunch, Tuya? So we had lunch together and we talked about our children then. Anyway, during the conversation, well, first I have to back up and say a little bit. She wasn't real well educated. She only spoke 6 languages. So her job was to go around all over Europe, and she worked for Arabia Glass. And if the markets, they have the markets where everybody has a booth and they display all the product, and the people who work for the company stand behind the table and tell how great their product is. And so she went all over Europe in those markets and was able to speak to their language. And then after that, she quit Arabia and went to work for Hershey's Chocolate and did this, not Hershey, Fatser's Chocolate, and did the same thing. So anyway, in 1972, she said, I bought an island here not too long ago, but I didn't tell my husband for about 6 weeks because I'm not sure he'd be happy about it. She bought an island just off the coast there of Helsinki, and I looked up the island and so forth by the name and so forth, and sure enough, it's there. She bought an island. She made plenty of money, I guess, traveling all over Europe, advertising their products. Anyway, in 1984, 85, Sally and I took a trip back to Scandinavian countries. And since 1972, Tuya and I have been sending Christmas cards back and forth. Well, I told her I was coming and Sally and I were coming. So she ate dinner with us in the hotel that night. And then Sarah Elizabeth, my granddaughter at age 12, wanted to go to the Scandinavian countries. So we went back, and Tuya's husband had passed, but she had another friend. And Tuya and his name was Tomo. That's Finnish for Tom. Anyway, so they took us all around Helsinki and Finland and so forth. So the thing about it is, I met Tuya 5 times over a period from 1952 till 2004, and saw her 5 times, and just to have a conversation with the lady from another country. And of course, Sally was with me the last 2 times. But anyway, it's just an interesting thing to take advantage of opportunities to meet people, and it's really educational. Mm-hmm. What else, Catherine? You think of anything?
Oh.
Have you thought of any questions? I do speak to high school groups. I speak to clubs, Rotary clubs, Kiwanis clubs, church groups, various times. I've got April, I've got a speech coming up to a group anyway. And I try to encourage kids to, like I'm talking to you, to take advantage of opportunities, make your own opportunities. And your life is what you put into it. The more you put into it, the more you get out of it. And so if I could say anything, why, don't be bashful to the extent you don't take advantage of your talents and your opportunities in life, and you will be so glad that you did. I talk too much, right?
No, you have a lot of stories.
Well, some
that
of
are
them
really interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. What about your plans for your life? School, college, admissions?
I'm going to the University of Oklahoma, and I'm going to become a physical therapist.
Oklahoma? What happened to Kansas State?
Remember sooner.
Well, well, I guess you know what happened to Kansas State and Oklahoma the last few years, but I won't go into that.
Yeah, hopefully it'll get better this year.
Oh, I'm sure. Anyway, and how about you, Ms. Gonzalez?
I'm not sure what I want to do yet. I think I want to go to cosmetology school, but I'm not sure where.
Well, that's good. That's I have a lady named Flora. She's my barber, and we have lots of conversations, and I learn a lot from her, believe me. Anyway, do you have anything else? Catherine, can you think of anything else?
Well, I think my dad's always worked really hard. You think about it. He worked for Mobil Oil, and every time I come in, when I was a kid, he'd have a desk just full of paperwork. So he's working, even though work was over for the day, he'd still be working at home. And then, by fitting in the Air Force Reserves for 27.5 years, that meant those extra weekends and that extra work. And then running track. And then my dad officiated for like 50 years at track meets. So he returned the favor. He shot the gun, on your marks, get set, bang, on your marks, set. And so he did that at track meets all over.
That gave me the opportunity to stay close to the track, even though while I was competing, but also after I got through competing, I started track meets up until through 2014. I started my last track meet. That's been a few years ago.
Right. And so, and then even when he retired, he was always involved and volunteering and serving on various committees and that sort of thing. So and this is just from my perspective, but by getting involved, you make so many good lifelong friends, and as opposed to just sitting at home and not making friends.
Yeah.
So he's made a lot of really great friends.
What she won't tell you is that she was a national 800 meet champion when she was in college at Rice. And we used to work out together. I was still running at age 40, and we would work out together on the track. And I could beat her in 100 yards, but when it got up to farther than that, why, she was 800-meter runner, and I couldn't beat her in a quarter.
That's good that you guys got that time to bond.
Yeah, it was great. No, it was really great. It was funny because my dad would never say, you should go work out. Never. And so, I'd work out 5 days a week with the track in high school. And then on Saturdays we'd have the meet. And Sunday I'd think, oh, I probably should go work out with my dad. And I'd like, I didn't want to do it, And so finally it'd just be sunset. And my dad would be working in the garden or whatever. And I'd say, hey, Dad, you want to go work out? And he'd say, sure. So we'd, get our workout clothes on. And we'd go to a nearby track, which was always locked. And then
I had a key, but I never used it. We climbed over the fence.
We'd climb over the fence, right where the gate was. There wouldn't be any barbed wire over that part. So there we were climbing over the fence. And my dad would say, well, the fence is to keep out people who won't use the track properly, but we're going to use the track properly, so it's okay.
But I did, if it was ever stopped, I had a key to the gate to prove that I had permission to be in there, even though I didn't use it.
Well, because he officiated there for the track team. But anyway, it was so cool. It was so fun, because we'd be walking late at night in the dark, and no lights. And sometimes you can just talk about all kinds of things that you wouldn't normally be able to talk about. So it was a really great experience. So it was a lot of fun.
Anything else that you can think of? What are you going to use this interview for?
I think they're gonna make a video with a bunch of people that graduated from Elkhart and like their advice and experiences, and I think probably post it somewhere. I don't know. We'll email you and let you know what they're gonna do with it.
Well, I just I just fell off of the camera. In any case, it has been fun for me, and I hope that I have contributed something to hopefully some people, to give them something to think about in their life. I've been very fortunate with my parents and with my school and with my family. I've just been so blessed, and the good Lord has been very good to me. So I just want to pass that on every time I get an opportunity. As you can see, I talk a lot.
Oh,
that's a good.
Maybe too much.
Yeah. Mariana, am I saying your name correctly?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Well, I know you're thinking about cosmetology school, but maybe think about college.
Oh yeah, no, I definitely want to go in and do all my business stuff, and just so I have my own business and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's important, because without education, then nobody can take advantage of you.
Yeah.
And there are people who will, unfortunately, try to take advantage of you. So that the business law, and picking up those courses. So, and it's never too late, because I'm 63, and believe it or not, I've just been accepted at the University of Nebraska to work on my PhD in history.
She's already a lawyer.
I have my law degree, but who wants to practice law when you could study history? That's my opinion.
Yeah.
But at this age, I've raised my kids. I've done everything I need to do. I've taken care of everyone. So it's time for me to do what I want to do.
I've got a little medal about this big that I got at Elkhart High School for being the outstanding history student.
Oh, wow.
Senior year.
That's cool.
Big deal, big deal.
But anyway, so I wish you all the best, both of you. So prayers for your future
Thank
success.
You.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah,
You
thank you.
too.
And thank you for meeting with us.
I made a few notes and I was trying to think if I have skipped anything, and I don't think I have. I've talked a lot. But I believe in staying active, as you can see, and that includes being around people. And being around people is what keeps your mind active, I think.
Right. So Dad's going on a cruise. In March, he's leaving from San Francisco and going to sail to Hawaii and back. And then in April, he's doing a cruise in the Caribbean. And so, I just can't keep up with his social life.
Well, as I say, you don't want to let that grass grow under your feet. And you never want to look back because somebody might be gaining on you.
Yeah.
That's good advice.
Oh, I'll have one more story. I had a rabbit in college. In running, one of the deals that you do is that you emphasize speed, obviously in my case. And so if you can visualize, I start right back at the beginning of the track and have a man 5 yards ahead of me. And we start out at 3/4 speeds and then 7/8 speed. And I get about halfway down, I yell, hit it. And then I have to catch him as quick as I can. And that burst of speed for that 30 or 40 yards, that increases your speed. You just get ready, you get all synchronized and everything with the warm-up getting ready, but then that increases your speed. And that's one of the best workouts I ever did. And Dick Towers was a classmate of mine, and he was a senior, he was my grade. Anyway, he was my rabbit. And I don't think I would have ever got the speed I acquired without him. So I owed him a great debt. And Dick Towers and Jerry Mershon was on the relay team, and Burl Schweitzer. The four of us had breakfast together 3 years ago, and Dick Towers still lives there. Anyway, so here we had a little reminiscing, you might say, from back in the days when we were on the relay teams together. Unfortunately, Schweitzer has since passed the last 3 years, but we still make friends, friends through life sometimes, wherever you find them. Keep up with them. I worked at Mobile for 39 years and 15 days, and I still keep track with some of my friends from there. I sure wish the best for both of you, and also for all the rest of the people that you will share this with. Take advantage of opportunities, make your own opportunities. Don't be bashful about studying, because you only have that opportunity one time in your life, so you better do it when you have the opportunity.
Well, thank you so much.
Yes, thank you for your time and doing this.
Well, thank you for interest in opinions of a Oh, I have something here I didn't show you. I just happen to have this here, I believe.
Oh, I have that shirt too.
It's upside down. There we go.
Oh,
That's a
yeah.
nice shirt.
Anyway, you've probably never seen one of those before. I don't know, you saw over there on the chair.
Oh, yeah.
See that? See that?
Yeah. K-State, yep.
Happen to see that Kansas State blanket. And of course, you have to have one on the floor too. Make sure you.
Yeah.
Anyway, Kansas State was so good to my life in so many ways. And of course, I met my wife, Sally, there. And I love to dance. That was one of my activities, you might say, all through high school, college, and opportunities with my wife. Dancing was the thing I loved to do.
Yeah, you were jitterbugging, weren't you?
We used to jitterbug. You ever hear of that?
Mm-mm.
You look up jitterbugging, gee whiz.
We will.
That was before the bunny hop and
the
twist and all those things. But anyway,
yeah, jitterbug.
I wish you both the best, and all of the people that you share this with, I wish them the best, and hope they have the opportunities that they see and they take advantage of them, and that they make their own opportunities.
Yes, sir.
And may God bless you both and all.
You too.
Yeah,
Thank
God bless
you.
you. All right.
See you
Okay.
guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.